Hello, my friend. Welcome to English Vids.
My name is Emma, and I'm 25 years old. For the past 7 years, I've lived far away from the small town where I grew up. I moved to the city for college and stayed there because I thought it was the right place for me. Life in the city is fast, busy, and full of opportunities, but somehow there's always a part of me that has missed my hometown. It's a quiet town, surrounded by trees and hills. Everyone knows everyone else there, and the streets are never crowded. When I was younger, I couldn't wait to leave. I thought it was too small, too boring, and too predictable. But now, after years of running around in a noisy city, I find myself looking back at those calm days with longing. Last month, I made the decision to go back for a visit. My parents still live there, and I realized it's been too long since I've seen them. At first, I was nervous about returning. Would everything look exactly the same as before? Would the people still treat me the same way? And most importantly, would memories of my teenage years come rushing back? Back then, I had a close group of friends and spent most days riding my bike around town. But I also had someone special, Luke. He was my first crush, my teenage love, and for one beautiful summer, my boyfriend. We broke up when I was 18 and just about to leave for college. It didn't end badly, but we were young, and both of us knew we wanted different things. After I left, I didn't hear much about him. Life moved forward, as it always does, but I sometimes wondered where he was and what he was doing. The first day back, arriving in town felt strange. It seemed smaller than I remembered, but also more peaceful. The same houses lined the streets, the same shops were open, and even the same elderly man was sitting on the park bench where he always used to sit. My parents were thrilled to see me and immediately started talking about everything that had been going on. "Oh, Emma, you'll never guess who bought the old coffee shop downtown," my mom said excitedly. "Luke. Remember Luke from high school?" My heart skipped a beat. Luke? Here? I smiled and nodded, pretending it didn't affect me. "That's nice," I said casually, before changing the subject. But the truth was, I couldn't stop thinking about it. The next day, I decided to walk through the town to see what had changed. As I passed the coffee shop, I hesitated. Through the large window, I saw modern tables and soft chairs, much nicer than I remembered. A sign above the entrance said, "Hilltop Coffee, locally owned." Before I could stop myself, I stepped inside. The smell of freshly brewed coffee filled the air, and soft music played in the background. And then I saw him. Luke was working behind the counter, wearing an apron and talking to a customer. He looked older. His face had a few mature lines now, and he was taller than I remembered. His hair was shorter, but his easy smile was still the same. At first, he didn't notice me. I stood there quietly, debating whether to turn around and leave. I had no idea why I felt so nervous. After all, it had been years. It wasn't like we were still teenagers. Just as I was about to leave, he looked up and froze. "Emma?" he said, his voice filled with surprise. "Hi, Luke," I said, trying to sound calm. He walked around the counter, smiling. "I didn't expect to see you here. How long are you in town for?" "A week," I replied. "Just visiting my parents." "That's great. It's been, 7 years," he said, shaking his head. "You look different. Good, though." I laughed shyly. You look different too. I heard you bought the coffee shop. Yeah, he said, glancing around proudly. It was a big decision, but I wanted to stay here. I guess I'm not meant for the busy city life like you. We talked for a few minutes, catching up on basic things like work and family. But even though he was smiling, I could feel something underneath. A quiet tension, the weight of the past we hadn't dealt with. Old memories and new beginnings. Later that evening, I couldn't stop thinking about Luke. Seeing him brought up so many feelings I thought I had buried. I remembered the long summer evenings we spent sitting by the lake, talking about our dreams. I remembered the way he used to laugh at my silly jokes, the way his hand felt in mine. But I also remembered the breakup. It wasn't dramatic, but it hurt. Luke had wanted to stay in town and build a simple, steady life. I had wanted adventure and a chance to experience more of the world. We couldn't find a middle ground back then. The next few days were filled with small coincidences. I ran into Luke at the grocery store, on the walking trail, and even at the farmer's market. Each time we smiled and talked for a little while. Slowly, it didn't feel awkward anymore. It just felt natural. On my third day back, Luke invited me to sit by the lake with him, just like we used to. I hesitated but agreed. We found our old spot under the big tree and sat there quietly, watching the water move. It's strange being here again, I said after a while. So much has changed, but everything also feels the same. Luke nodded. I know what you mean. I think we've both changed, though. He looked at me, and for a moment, I felt the same spark I did years ago. But this time, it wasn't rushed or overwhelming. It felt calmer, warmer. Facing the past. As we talked, we started digging deeper. About our dreams, our choices, and even our breakup. I always wondered if I made the right decision, I admitted. Leaving town, leaving us. At the time, it felt like I had no choice. Luke's voice softened. I never blamed you for going. I knew you needed to follow your heart, and I wasn't ready for that kind of change. But I did miss you, a lot. Hearing those words felt like a weight lifting off my chest. For years, I wondered if he resented me for leaving. But now, I realized he understood, maybe better than I had understood myself back then. It's not about the past anymore, he said gently. We're different people now, but I've always believed that some connections don't fade. They just grow quieter until you're ready to hear them again. As my week in town came to an end, I felt torn. The visit had brought up so many feelings: nostalgia, happiness, regret, and hope. Most of all, Luke had reminded me that some places and people never really leave your heart. On my last evening, Luke invited me to dinner at his coffee shop. We sat there laughing and sharing stories, just like we used to. But this time, it felt different. We weren't teenagers anymore. We were adults, ready to face things as they were. You don't have to decide anything now, Luke said as we were saying goodbye. But if you ever find yourself wanting to come back, whether it's for the town or for me, I'll be here. I smiled, not sure what the future would hold, but knowing that the door to something new had opened. As I drove back to the city the next morning, I realized something important. Going home isn't just about revisiting the past. It's about discovering what still matters in your present and what could matter in your future.